So welcome to this another update video. As you can see, this is Tropical Storm Andres. This was investigating 2 weeks yesterday, and as expected, Andres has intensified rather quickly, and in fact probably more quicker than anyone could have imagined. Though its rate of its exact intensification is somewhat uncertain. I mean, the system was declared a tropical depression at 3 a.m. local time this morning, or 3 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time this morning, with the winds of 3 knots and gradually intensified. And 6 hours later was upwind into Andres, and the latest advisory a couple hours ago, the ANSI gave it 50 knots. However, it personally looks a bit stronger right now. So the evidence for this is mixed because due to ASCAP and RapidSCAP passes showing different results, and the VORAC intensity estimates and then debate on whether you use constraints or weakening systems or not. I mean, however, Andres is not a perfect system. Hold on. You can see a little bit of dry air getting tucked into the core here. I mean, you do see the formation of an eye feature. Probably better showing here. You see that faint, distinct eye starting to develop. I mean, it's a banding type eye. And as you can tell, these outflow channels, the outflow is good and it's been improving, but there's still some dry air getting suckered in. So the system is doing a good job mixing it out. The structure is pretty similar to Hurricane Christina last year, except it's doing it at a much faster rate than Christina was. Christina was took more time to organize. While, what do you want to call her? Andres is doing it more quicker. I mean, you can see the outflow even in these showers is starting to improve, and the dry air is presumably being mixed out by the storm's upward outflow, is presumably mixing out the dry air, and allowing for a more favorable environment aloft with all this divergence and outflow channels out in this area. I mean, the latest CMS ADT values are 5.1 raw and around 3.65 and 3.9 adjusted. These values would support a strong tropical storm with winds of at least 55 to 65 knots. And if trend continues, I think it is likely that Andres will become a hurricane. Now, beyond Andres, you have this. This is currently an area disturbed word I mentioned in yesterday's update video. I might be able to stick in a third one today if Andres does indeed become a hurricane. We'll get to Andres again in a sec, but here's a system that, believe it or not, this has to be one of the strongest systems I've ever seen on a GFS run, because it shows quite a full-blown hurricane, like a 930 millibar hurricane, 234 hours out. This is kind of similar to how Cyclone Pam in the South Pacific and how Mars would constantly showing a sub 900 millibar cyclone that Pam would become for 2 weeks in advance. So this will be interesting to see how it plays out. In addition, in the longer range, and yes, that's the 020 system, but in the longer range, it also shows yet another system off the west coast of Mexico. I mean, some models have been bringing this inland across the Gulf of Tehuantepec. It's really too soon to get too worked up about it, but I'm taking note of this anyway. I mean, here's a look at the MJO pulse, and you can see now it's in phases E and 1. You can see those two phases favor upward motion across the East Pacific and Caribbean Sea. Obviously, the shear in the Caribbean is too high, as well as the fact that the East Pacific is warmer in the Caribbean right now, and those two factors allowing for the storm activity to be focused on the Eastern Pacific rather than the Caribbean, which shows something worthy of taking note. I mean, as a result, if this holds true, and that's a big if, since JFS tends to propagate the MJO too fast, which will allow it to stay in this part of the world for longer. However, the MJO sometimes gets stuck in these kinds of phases, and that's sometimes why it tends to show phantom tropical cyclones along the East Pacific during these MJO phases. In addition, there's no real convective Kuiper Kelvin wave support right now. However, a convective Kuiper Kelvin wave is likely on the way around early June that could provide some support, and possibly behind that will be a suppressed version of the MJO pulse, which is which is set to correspond with the timing. At the point the MJO will be located around Phase 1, Phase 2, and that's set to correspond with the timing of that hurricane that the GFS showed 16 days out, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But in the short term, all the focus is on Andres now. For the generals about Andres, it's forecast to continue on a west-northwest track, roughly parallel to the Mexican coast. I mean, in the short term, significant intensification seems likely, though there's some uncertainty on how much shear and how much dry air can affect the system. But they don't appear like there will be significant inhibitors to intensification. Right now, Andres has anywhere from about 24 to 48 hours before sea surface temperatures begin to decrease. However, the system is expected to turn westbound. That could keep it over warmer waters for longer and allow it to hang around as an annual tropical cyclone possibly for several days and accumulate some very high A's for this basin. And we'll see what happens. But Andres is definitely on the upswing. The Eastern Pacific seems to be picking up right where it's left off, performing its magic once again. That'll wrap up this video, I think. Oh yeah, one more note. Once I get to this, the JFS still, as a matter of fact, keeps this on for around. He has it around day 9. I think it keeps on for a couple more days. So this Andres can exist well into June. However, the JFS sometimes overdoes the prolongs the genesis of Eastern Pacific tropical cyclones too much in this part of the world, so we'll see what happens. Now wrap up this video. Bye.